No, that's fine. So you said that you're an international rider, and you sell horses and things like that.
Yeah.
But what does that actually look like? Is it a case of you're an international rider and sell horses, or or you're an international rider first and then? Does that make sense? If you're an international rider first and then you sell horses, or do you sell the horses and then but you also compete as well?
It's a muddled situation with mine because it's not really like black and white. It's not something that like, oh, I just do this on this day and I just do that on that day. So it's not like I just do a competition day and nothing else, because I could go to a show and then show horses in the afternoon when I get home. They are two separate businesses and as such that they aren't the same job. But in respect to, are they two separate entities? No, they are very muddled because we compete the sales horses. And, for me, every horse is for sale, no matter whether I like to keep them or not.
Yep.
Because at the end of the day, money is money and a horse is a horse. And as much as we love them and as much as we'd like to keep the really good ones, they always want to be the ones that people want to buy.
Absolutely.
So,
that's the reality of it.
Yeah.
You can hold on to something for a hope, but actually if that time is right and you've got the right money and that horse can go on and help somebody else. And
like when we buy some of the baby horses that we have in conjunction, like when the owners, and we always have a plan like, oh, if anyone ever offered us this amount of money, we'd always sell. So I think, especially with the big horses that we've got, the top horses, there's always a figure in your head. I think that you'd like, if someone offered you life-changing money, I would never turn it down because, they can break their leg in the field the next week. So I think you have to be really realistic, and as heart-wrenching and as horrible as it is, at the end of the day, you have to be realistic.
Yeah, and that's the reality, really. I think what some people struggle with is they get attached to the horses, and that becomes a real challenge. It sounds like you've got a good way of coping with that.
Yeah, a lot of people think I'm not attached to horses at all, but actually it's complete opposite. I am very attached to them, and, we do everything we can for them to give them the best lifestyle they possibly can have. But for me, I always think the horse, if there's a home that is the perfect home for the horse, then why not? Why not give someone else an opportunity to have that horse and go on and go and do amazing things? We really enjoy horses that we've sold going on to national championships and European finals. We had a horse this year that won a bronze medal at the Young Rider Championships.
Wow.
So that for me is very exciting to see, and it's so lovely because a lot of the time they'll message and be like, oh my god, look what we've done. And that's exciting for me. I enjoy watching them going on to do stuff. It's nice if it's you doing it, but it's still amazing because then people then go, oh, where did you get that horse from? And they'll say me, and then it builds a
rapport, reputation.
Yeah, exactly. And reputation is everything in this industry, unfortunately. It can be tarnished very quickly, and so you have to be as honest and open as possible.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that's a really good point. You've got to be open and honest, and I think sometimes people lose sight of that for whatever reasons, especially when you're in the game of selling horses. That can be quite challenging. Yeah. I'm not saying that I don't actively know of anyone that's ever lied, but that it's very easy to just miss a slight detail out.
I think a lot of people... I know a lot of people that they'll sell one and it'll go very easy and they'll get good money for the horse and they're like, oh, this is really easy. And then they do a couple and then they're like, oh, this is still really easy. And then they get the next one, they either can't sell it or for whatever reason it goes wrong. Then they start to realise it's not easy. No. Selling horses is very hard because a lot of time you're selling to amateur riders, which is your main bulk of your industry. And as lovely as some of them are, there are a lot of them that are very difficult to deal with. Not necessarily make your life hard, but, you have to work very, very hard to make them happy. And that's fine. I don't mind doing that. But for a lot of people, they want the quick buzz and the quick money. And those days are great. I've had weeks where we sold 3 horses and no one had them vetted, and it was unbelievable. And they were really expensive horses, and it's just pot luck, and then you have a month where not a single horse goes through a vet check, so it's really, really tough. You can never live on that, oh, that money's going to be there, or that money's going to be there, because it's just until that money is in the bank, it's not there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the thing with, there's so many things that people like to check with horses, like you mentioned vettings, and there's so many points that something can go wrong.
Yeah,
so
I think I don't actually know anything other than buying a house that I would ever know that you'd go and buy something and have so many checks done on something.
Mm-hmm.
I think, people say moving house is stressful. I think it's as stressful buying a horse, because you go through so much like highs and lows of, I found the perfect horse, then it fails the vet, then you have to go and look for another one, and then that fails the vet, or its x-rays aren't right, or something like that. And and at the end of the day, it's so tough now. Many years ago, you never had the x-rays, so it was just that you bought the horse, and that was a lot easier. But now a lot of people are buying x-rays rather than buying the horse. And that becomes another discussion. It's
So really, not only are you managing expectations, which is fascinating, you've got the expectations of not just the buyer, but you've got an owner as well who expects a certain amount of money.
Yeah, and we have, we can't always achieve some goals that the owners want for the horses, i.e. like they want a certain amount of money, or, they want the horse sold in a certain amount of time. Not everything happens perfectly, and you cannot make everybody happy, and it's very difficult when you have an owner who's very adamant on the money that they want for the horse, and maybe the horse isn't worth that money, or at that time that horse isn't a fashionable horse. Fashions come and go, and 3 months down the line the horse might become fashionable again. So it's difficult to manage. In my job is I have to manage both sides. I have to manage the buyer's expectations and the owner's expectations, and you are basically piggy in the middle.
Yes.
And having to, whilst my main objective is making sure my owners are prioritized, you also want to not let the buyer down, because you want to give them a good experience of buying a horse. It should be fun, it should be exciting, they should be happy, they should want to do it. And then when that is not easy to manage at the same time, when you've also got to manage your owner, it's tricky sometimes.